Laurie from Madison Ave Bookkeeping, and in this video, I'm going to show you how to create a QuickBooks Online file from scratch for your mental health practice. All right, let's get started. Okay, so let's say you're ready and you've decided to pick QuickBooks Online as your software, your accounting software. So I would just go in any search engine. Okay, so here's the link. Here it says in free trial, so let's look here. Oh, look, now it shows essentials. When I was doing it somewhere else a minute ago, it didn't show the other plan. So this is good. Okay, so there are some other types that are, and it's not showing it here. It's like solopreneur and some other ones. Don't do that. Always start with at least simple start. Don't do solopreneur or any of those others. Okay, if you're a solo mental health practice, or any type of practice, in the beginning, you can probably start out with either Simple Start or Essentials. The main thing with Simple Start is you only get one user. So if you need other people inside of your practice to work on your QuickBooks, let's say they're an employee, then you would need Essentials. If you are using an outsourced bookkeeping company, that user is not counted. So 1 or 3 users, those do not include your accountant or your bookkeeper. So you get 2 invitations to your outside services, such as, tax prep, bookkeeping. Okay, so I'm going to choose Simple Start. And then from there, you can always upgrade. So I say start with the smallest, and then as you feel you need to upgrade, you could. Now I'm going to continue without payroll. QuickBooks has payroll, and then your other options are Gusto, ADP, Paychecks. Those are some of the top well-known. I'm going to say continue without payroll. Okay, so I'm going to stop right here because I have to put in my credit card and my login information, but you would just continue. Now, if you happened to ever have created a QuickBooks account, which a lot of you have, you either need to see, I'm going to click sign in. And if you try and set it up and your email address is already registered with Intuit or QuickBooks, you'll just send for a reset password, and then it'll help you go from there. So I'm going to pause it for a minute and I'll be back once this is purchased. Okay, so I've entered my payment information, and now this is after I clicked submit with my credit card. This is the next screen. To enter your business name. So a lot of these questions, really, it doesn't matter. I mean, they're just kind of collecting data. So we'll just say spreadsheets. You don't have to do this. So here, industry is kind of helpful, but honestly, we're going to import we'll pick this one, offices of physicians and mental health specialists. But again, this isn't that important because the way I'm going to walk you through this, you're going to import my chart of accounts. Business type. If you're an LLC, you would put sole proprietor, and if you're an S Corp, you'd pick this. For mental health practice, I highly doubt you're a partnership or a nonprofit. Again, this doesn't matter. We say owner. Okay. You should not do these things right now. This is too soon to worry about automating until you get your fundamentals down. But I think we have to pick something or we can't get going. So we'll just say this, do this first, but we're not really going to. Then we're going to say skip. Okay, regarding receipts, I don't believe in snapping and saving your receipts in QuickBooks. for many reasons. You could have to start a new QuickBooks file. You might leave this file, and you don't want that to be your file system because remember, you need to keep these receipts for 7 years. So I don't recommend attaching and saving them in QuickBooks. Save them in Dropbox, save them in Google Drive. Figure out a system that way. Just don't make saving them in a software you could possibly leave be your source of filing. Okay, you cannot accept QuickBooks payments because it's not HIPAA compliant. So it will also maybe pre-approve and create a payment account through QuickBooks Payments. You have to turn that off if that happens. Okay, again, you can't do this. I'm speaking to mental health practitioners that work with patients. Okay, what do you want to do in QuickBooks? Let's see if we can skip. Where's the skip? Okay, so let me explain the most important thing in bookkeeping that you really need to understand before you get started. I work with a lot of people, so mind you, if this is already seeming too much, just remember I offer QuickBooks coaching and we can do this together and you don't have to do this alone. But let's start on the first thing we do once you have purchased the QuickBooks. There's a thing called a chart of accounts. And if you're not familiar with bookkeeping, the chart of accounts, there's two sections. There's income and expenses. That's the money you bring in. And it's good to determine ahead of time if you want a lot of detail in that income. And then there's your expenses. And that is items like software and rent and automobile and licenses and all of that stuff. There are also things called assets, liabilities, and equity. So the assets, when we go to look at this chart of accounts, that's your bank account and any furniture that you might have in your office. So those would be assets. Liabilities would be the balance on your credit card and or if you have a line of credit or any type of loan. Equity is the money that you have either contributed or taken from the business. So those are really important things to understand, that these categories are in those types of things. One is an income statement, that would be, or profit and loss, that's your income and expenses, which then shows you how much you made less how much you spent is how much your net profit is. Okay, so now let's go look at this. Over on the left, I'm going to click accounting, and here are chart of accounts. So if you look up on the top left under create, it says bookmarks. So I use chart of accounts all the time. So I'm going to bookmark it so it's easy for me to get there. So this is the list of categories QuickBooks has given you to start out. But I have, and from other YouTube videos, but I'm just going to link it in the description here, I have a chart of accounts that works very well for mental health practices. So what we're going to want to do is get rid of all of these things that QuickBooks has made for us, and then we are going to import the chart of accounts. Even on my download screen for my chart of accounts, it warns you, if you don't, this is really only to be done or used in this sense as an import if you have a brand new file. Please do not import my chart of accounts if you've already started a file. You're going to have a mess. You're going to have double entries. You're going to have 2 or 3 of everything. So this is very clear, only to be used if you have a brand new file. Okay. I'm going to show you what it looks like. So it's an Excel spreadsheet with everything I believe you would need. And then, of course, you can always add codes. But what we have here is a lot of stuff you're not going to need, and that is just going to make things harder. So I'm going to go through a little bit of it, then I'm going to pause the video, and then I'll get it back when we're at 0. So if I just select everything and I click batch actions and say make inactive, we're going to have some issues with some of them will not be deactivated. And these aren't actually like deleted, but they are what they call deactivated. Okay. And some cannot be done. So now we'll look at them. So anything that had a sub account has to be unsubbed in order to make it inactive. So right now I'm going to show you how to do one or two, and then I'm going to come and just do this on my own and then come back to the video. So all I do is say, I unsub it like that. And then when I go to, listen, let me do office supplies so I can show you. So I say edit office supplies. I take it out of the sub. Now it will allow me, it's down in expenses. So see this green thing, that BAL means it's a balance sheet. That was the assets, liabilities, and owner's equity is that. And the P&L, profit and loss, are your income and expenses. So if I go to office supplies, now it's outside. It used to be subbed under office expense. I will down click, make inactive. Yes. Now it let me. I'm going to go unsub everything and then I will be back. Okay, so I've made everything deactivated, and the certain items that I haven't deactivated, I'll explain why. These accounts, QuickBooks will not let you deactivate for any reason. So what I do is go into the name. If you click over here, you can click edit. And I added 3 X's in front of these category names. That way it stays at the bottom of the chart of accounts. And it also means that you should, if you see those 3 X's, you should not use any accounts with X's in front of them. So for instance, personal expenses, we really, please don't have personal expenses inside your bank account and or your credit cards. And if you do, I will show you how you would make one specific to the year. And we would call it like 2025 draw, meaning you're taking money. And if you were to give money, you would code it to 2025 contribution. Okay, we don't want anything uncategorized. We're importing my chart of accounts, so I got rid of these. And general business expenses is a very weird name, so I don't like that. And we also, again, we don't want uncategorized income or expense. I do give you one category called Ask My Accountant, and that's for you to put anything that you do need to research. So now let's go to the next step, which is importing a file. So I'm going to show you what we're going to import. Now this you can find on our website and in the link in the description. You can download this, but please, again, only import this if you have a brand new file. Now, if you already have a file, you could go and manually add some of these or look at the structure of this chart of accounts and maybe edit your chart to look very similar and or add codes. But you must do it manually at this point if you've already been using QuickBooks. This chart of accounts, you should just print it out if you already have a file going. If you have a brand new account with not one transaction added, you'll do what, if you want, you don't have to, you can import this chart of accounts. It's very specific to mental health practices. Okay, so we're in our chart of accounts. We're going to click the drop down and we're going to say import. Don't have the Excel file open. So I'm going to say browse. Oops, downloads. Down at the bottom right, click next. The only one it's not showing a match for is account number, and I don't have account numbers on there. That's more difficult. Okay, so here we go. Everything looks fine. We're going to click import. Okay, so now if you look at your chart of accounts, it's what I imported from my special chart of accounts. So that is step 1 of getting your QuickBooks started. Now you can actually start inputting and connecting a bank account so that you can actually post your QuickBooks and produce a profit and loss. All right, so we will now go on to step 2. All right. Okay, so step one is done. We've figured out and created our chart of accounts. Now, again, you can always add to this. This is just a basic chart of accounts, but the one thing I would say is don't get it to be too detailed. It'll make your profit and loss report too long. And especially if you're a small solo practice, you're going to be the one deciding what you're spending money on. So this piece is very specific to anyone that's taking insurance. And or I'll also show you the other piece to this. But again, you cannot put any patient names in your QuickBooks, but I would consider any deposits that are posted that specify a specific insurance company, you should notate and also code out. So I'll explain what I mean by that. But what I want you to do is go through your bank statements and look at what does it say in the bank detail of the deposits, okay? Another thing I would put in here is maybe like Stripe credit card deposits or any type of, so like Stripe usually is with Simple Practice and so forth. So you want to try and kind of decide and break out. I say you should always break out if you're taking insurance, the difference between maybe your credit card processing where you really can't tell who it is, right? But you could go back later and look it up. And things like self-pay or co-pay. You want to try the difference. The self-pay is when someone's paying a full amount and maybe they are sending you electronically something where it's very easy for you to tell that that was for a single session and it's a completely self-pay, no insurance involved. And then you have, if you're mostly taking insurance and you're getting small amounts from the patients, that would be the copay. So just trying to be able to look at your books later, it's better to plan ahead and put in this level of detail. Now, regarding income, I like to be very detailed. Regarding expenses, I think it's a little silly to be segmenting every little expense. To plan and to make, to be profitable, you always need to be knowing how much money is coming in and from where. And that way, if your QuickBooks is this detailed, you can then take that data and compare it to your practice billing software. They should coincide well if your practice billing software is posted correctly on a cash basis. So you might bill $10,000 for the month, but you may have to wait 30 days for that. So just keep that in mind. Okay, so the best way to set up your QuickBooks is not to do things on the fly. It's best to have your credit card statements, have your bank statements, and understand who are your vendors, who are your customers, and get all of that set up, just like we already just set up your chart of accounts. We've got your categories, which is your chart of accounts. Now we're going to import what we call the customers, right? Which is not any patient name. It's basically these descriptions here, such as self-pay, co-pay, a credit card processing, and or names of insurance. So what you should do is if you don't have Excel, you can use a Google Sheet. It's free. You just have to create a Gmail account. And now I have listed some well-known insurance companies and so forth. And now I'm going to show you how to download this and import it into your QuickBooks. So I'm going to say File, Download. CSV usually works best. Now look, I'm in accounting. So if I click here, Customer Hub, and I click Customers, I'm not going to bookmark that. You don't usually use that much. And here we have it, Import Customers. I'm going to say Browse. I don't like to select the Google Sheet, then you're like linking it to your Google account. Okay, so it's been selected. Oh, look, I messed something up. I need to have on the top, so this is good. all we're going to do is do name. So I'm going to re-download that. Because you need to have a header. Let's see if that works. So we're just going to import the name. You're not going to be doing your billing out of here, so you don't need any of these other things. So now it's going to import the 21 names. Okay, so now we have the insurance companies and anything else we're trying to kind of segregate regarding income. We have the customer name, because when we get further down the road and I teach you how to post deposits, you will want to put in the quote unquote customer name, not patient name. The other thing we want to do, let's go back up to our bookmark where we have our chart of accounts. And I'm going to go down to the equity, the income, I mean. So you have insurance income, and then we have copay and self-pay. So I would like to put all the names of the insurance income, a subcategory of that, so that you could look into and understand how much is being actually deposited into your bank account on specific income codes. I speak with people often when I do QuickBooks coaching and I'm helping them, or they're just calling, trying to understand how bookkeeping works. And they find out that their biller hasn't billed, or all the claims haven't been resubmitted, and suddenly they have no money coming in and they're really not sure what is and isn't. So if you have this set up, you will then be able to look yourself and compare it to what your billing is saying. So it's, to me, if you're accepting insurance, it's critical that you also subcategorize the insurance income portion. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to do that. So over here is the list, right, of what we have. Now, I already saw in our chart of accounts that we had this copay, self-pay. I'm just going to take those out. So now we have these names and then a credit card deposit. So I'm going to copy these. Now, mind you, we have a chart of accounts. It's going to be linked below, and this is what it looks like in Excel. This is what we imported earlier. So, but you have to come up with your insurance companies. I don't want you importing a list of insurance companies that you don't accept insurance from. And across, countrywide, there's different Blue Cross, Blue Shield, that's specific. Like in New York, we have Empire Plan. So you really need to go through your bank account, and I would name them and create the list really almost straight off your bank account, so that it's easy for QuickBooks to automate and post these things. Okay, so let's go over here. So we're doing account name. So what we're trying to do is create an income code that sounds the same as these. So I'm going to copy those. If you're in a Google Sheet, if you do a CSV, it'll only do the one page. Okay, so now we have that. Now let's look. Type is going to be income, but it's better to copy and paste it straight off of our. So I'm going to say income. And then, oh, my detail type, we're going to pick that as well. So I'm going to pick copy. Description, I don't really think you should put anything in there. I think it's self. The one thing you can add is United Healthcare. You could say insurance income, if it just makes it easier for you to follow. So I'm going to pause and I'm going to put insurance income in all of these just to make it a little easier. Okay, so now I have insurance as part of this. So I'm going to say file, download, and if I pick CSV, it's going to do this sheet, I believe. Okay, and look, it named it the name of this tab. Okay. So I'm going to drop this down. I'm in the chart of accounts. I'm saying import. So we don't have an account number, so that's fine. So we're going to say next. There will be one more step after this, but I'll show you what to do in a minute because I can't sub it here. Okay, so now we got our income codes in, right? But I want to put all of the ones that are health insurance subbed under the health insurance code. So you're going to need to go now one by one. But again, this is still so much easier than hand typing all of this. You're going to click here, make this a sub account. Wait, it's insurance income. So now I'm going to make that a sub. So as you can see here, it's getting indented. I'm going to do one more and then I'll pause and come back. So here's Empire Plan. I'm clicking to the right. I'm clicking edit. I'm saying make this a sub account. I'm typing in insurance to bring it up. Then I'm clicking save. I'm going to go get the rest of my insurance company income in the sub account. Okay, so now if we go down to the income section, you'll see that we have a header and that because these names are indented, that means it's a sub account of insurance income. Then we have copay and self-pay income. Okay, so we have copay and self-pay. Then we have all of our insurance companies, which will match when Cigna comes in. We are going to pick Cigna Healthcare Insurance Income as a correlating income code. You'll see more what I mean later. We do have a section for refunds. Now, refunds will show up on your profit and loss as a negative account, and that's where you want to see if you're giving money back. You want to see how much. You don't want it buried in your normal income. You want to see this much came in and this much was sent out as a refund. I have here Stripe credit card deposit, and I somehow messed that up. So this is when it's good to fix that. I don't want it to say, oh, that's when I was copying and pasting into those accounts. So I screwed that up. So we say save. So that will mostly be, hopefully if you're accepting insurance payments that you're doing so electronically and you're not remote check depositing, because then you're going to have to go through every deposit and figure out how much was copay, how much was insurance. So I highly recommend making sure that is done. Now, if your billing is done, the only thing that gets tricky is if the insurance companies send you those credit cards that are like a one-time credit card payment, that's going to end up in your Stripe piece. So then I would, if you were posting some of those, I would want to break that out, like how much was that of other items and not have it all say Stripe credit card processing. That just, it is important you do that. Try and always break out your income completely. It just helps so much to check against your biller later on. All right, so we have just completed step 2 in creating our customers and our income codes. We will now move on to step 3, which is our vendor and specific any other expense codes we may need. All right, let's get going on the next step. So now we are on to step 3 of setting up our QuickBooks Online file for a private practice. So what I did was I came up with some simple names of some, different vendors I see here in New York State. Now, what you would want to do is start a Google Sheet or an Excel file and just list off the things you see at the bank, your bank account. You could also download your bank account activity if that's easier for you and copy and paste them. But what we're trying to do is get our file completely ready before we start adding transactions, because everything goes wrong when you're just clicking and ticking and you just don't even kind of know what you're doing. So it's better to start the file with your vendors in place. We have your health insurance companies in place already from step 2 if you needed that piece. So here we have some that I came up with. It's not too many. So I'm going to say File, Download, CSV. Okay. Now we're going to go over here to Expenses and Bills, and we're going to click down here to Vendors. All right, so we are at Vendors. We're going to click up and click Import Vendors. Now I downloaded that as a CSV. And mine is only, I'm just importing the name. I just click next. Now I click import. And that's it. Now we have the vendor list in here. Now, as throughout the year, you're going to get new vendors that maybe are brand new. You would just simply add them this way, manually or on the fly. And you would just fill in the company name, vendor displaying name, and click save. So step 3 is pretty easy. Now we will start talking about connecting your bank account in step 4, as we now have most of your codes and we have your vendors and your customers set up. So we will be heading into step 4 and 5 with a very good foundation. All right, I'll see you in the next step. One important thing to do is to create, before you link your bank account, is to link and create your, this is not part of my import, is your checking account. And if you have more, then you will be linking multiple. So you should create your name. That would be done manually. We'll just say bank, checking, save. So that's your step. Now you're going to go and link your bank account. Okay, so now we are on to step 4, and this will be a 2-part. We are going to, I will show you where you go to connect your bank account. Now I can't connect my bank account because this is a demo file. And then once we get to the second part of this step, what I will do is show you about rules. So here we go. Up on the left, under accounting, you're going to see bank transactions. This should be bookmarked because it's going to be one of the most important things and things you will do on a day-to-day basis. So I now bookmarked it and I go to bank transactions. Okay, so what you want to do is connect your account. From here, you're going to pick your bank. If it's not a big bank, you'll have to type it in and see if it's available. Don't do that. Just sign in with the mobile. And from here, you're going to sign in, right? And I can't show you anymore because I can't show other people's bank accounts. So you're just going to follow the instructions, and it will ask you, one of the critical steps though, is it's going to ask you, should it start as of today or backdated? So if you're like right now, it's December 2025, you should pick, if it allows you, if your bank allows you, pick the first day of 2025, or if this is a year later, for, first day of the year. If it will only go back a certain amount, pick that date. But then you need to solve your problem of, if it only lets you go back to March 1st, you're still going to need to get a file so you don't have to hand post January and February. There are a couple ways you could do that. Sometimes you can, maybe it won't let you connect, but it'll let you download a QuickBooks Online QBO file. So you would do that for the very specific date range of your bank account. You'd have to then import it back to this other section. If your bank doesn't even have that, I would recommend going to DocuClipper, where they will allow you to import your bank statements as PDFs, and they will then create the QBO file for you. I will make sure to put a DocuClipper link. It's just you have to be really careful when you're using it, and sometimes things can go wrong. But again, if there's multiple months that you cannot get a QBO file for, you really need to find a different way. Otherwise, you're going to be so frustrated having to hand enter 6 months of transactions. So just understand there are other tools if your bank does not let you go as far back as you need. All right, I'll see you in a little bit once I have a bunch of transactions uploaded and imported, and we will go on to the next step, which is called creating rules. All right, I'll see you then. Okay, so now we are at the bank rule piece of step 4. I believe this is step 4. So we have created our income codes. We have created our expense codes. We have created customer names and vendor names. One thing I would recommend is, let me just show you, if you duplicate this, I just right-clicked at the top of the tab and click duplicate. I would print out your category list in the chart of accounts. So go here because I bookmarked it. What you can do is you can print this list out. This will help you understand which categories you're mostly going to be in the income and expenses. See, it says income P&L, and then it'll say expenses P&L. So I would have that because that way you're not accidentally picking the wrong code or making codes because you don't think it's there. So I would really recommend printing this. So again, guys, if this is seeming like too much work for you or it is overwhelming, please don't forget that I offer private QuickBooks coaching calls. They can vary from 1 to 2 hours. We do it via Zoom like this, and you get a recording at the end. So sometimes this is just a little too much and or you're afraid you're going to mess it up. So we could do this together on a coaching call. All right. So now here we are in the bank transactions. So I'm going to warn you, but if you have to post an entire year's worth of books, I think you should use automated add transaction feature to load this whole thing. So I have a bunch of transactions in here that are for an entire year. So this is showing how to deal with things in like a yearly basis, right? What I'm going to do is I'm going to click into one of these. I'm gonna have to turn on my put on my glasses now. Let's see. Now, I don't want to use what QuickBooks is doing. We don't want them to be thinking for us, okay? So the transaction type is categorized. I do not believe in matching. So I wish I hadn't, this is like so new to me. This is a totally new look. So the transaction type, why is it saying that? Just ignore that because we don't ever use any of these three things. That is so bad. Okay, so it noticed that we have Aetna and that we have an Aetna insurance income. So it picked that. So very cool. Now we're going to say Aetna. Okay, we're not doing a product and service. Ignore that. That has to do with invoicing. Okay, so I'm going to say no, go away. Maybe that'll. So now we have decided that this deposit, we are categorizing it because that is what's clicked. It's from Aetna. We have Aetna insurance income from or to would be a vendor name. We have picked this as our default. See if I change this, that'll change it over here. But I'm going to say create a rule. And I'm going to call this Aetna. Money in, I always choose all bank accounts because if you get a new bank account and you specifically had one picked, then you get a new one, you'll have to fix all your rules. I drop this down to bank text. I'm double checking it one last time. This is horrible. I don't know why they have this. Replace bank memo, always clear that out. Auto add. So now click save. Now, if you want, I have a very specific guide on my rules that we use at my firm. So if that's something you're interested in, just shoot me an email at hello@Madison Ave Bookkeeping. It'll be in the description and we will mail you a laminated copy of the do's and don'ts. You'll just have to send an email and your mailing address. Okay, so I want to show you what just happened. I'm going to go reports. I just want you to see what we did by creating that one rule regarding Aetna. I'm going to hit profit and loss, and we'll keep this open and keep looking at it. I'm going to display it by months. And look, now all of our Aetna has been posted. Apparently we don't have any in December. Or maybe, let's see. So look how all that was done. 12 months of deposits were done in one thing. Okay, so now we're going to go back. I'm just going to click this refresh button is critical. And we may find that we missed a vendor or we missed a customer. So I'm going to do a couple more and then I will do the rest of this by myself and I will then show you the next step. So this is a deposit. It again picked the Cigna health insurance. We just have to go here and pick Cigna, ignore product and service, create your rule. I like bank text better. It picks them up better. So I always change that. This replace bank memo, you don't want to ever do that, because if you make a bad rule and you have Sunoco and you made it link with Cigna, you'll never know, because you won't have your true transaction detail. You know, when you look at the credit card statement or a bank statement, it has very detailed like numbers at the end. You're going to lose all of that. So this is bad. Hit clear, hit save. Okay, so I'm going to go and post the rest of the deposits, and then I will come back and we will do expenses. Okay, so now all of the deposits rules have been created and they have been added. So if we go back here and click refresh, that little updated circular thing. Okay, so now I have imported the deposits for an entire year. And I did this very quickly because of that auto add. Now, let me warn you though, auto add is wonderful until it isn't wonderful. And that means if your bank disconnects and you choose the wrong date for it to have its connection reestablished, then you get double entries. So just keep that in mind, that auto add is wonderful until it breaks, and you will have to go turn off your auto add pieces in your rules, or you would have double entry. So that is where it does get tough. Okay. Now we're going to talk about the rules for expenses. It's very similar, but I want to show you what that looks like. And look, some of my rules didn't work, so I will fix those later. Let's just go to some expenses. Okay. So expense, pay to from Con Edison, utilities. That's great. We're going to name it. I'm going to say bank text. I'm going to clear out the memo. I'm going to leave the auto add. You also have to just give it a little bit of time. Now, I don't think we made Google. So here's the instance where we're in our bank feed. We have most of the things, and now there's something new. So like this is Google Ads versus G Suite would be different. So here I would say Google Ads. Account advertising and promotion is perfect. Now, if this is getting to be too much, don't forget I do offer QuickBooks coaching calls via Zoom. Okay, so I'm going to go and post the rest of this, and then I will see you in the next section. Okay, so now we have posted all of the transactions, or I have, and hopefully you are following along and you have as well. Now you need to do your very first bank reconciliation, and there are a couple steps. You only should start your file with a January date. So you're going to have the issue of having had transactions or a balance from your prior year. So I have kind of like a little dummy bank statement that hopefully works with this demo file. So it says the beginning balance, or like ending balance beginning for this, January 2025 statement is $36,725.48. So we need to do a bank rec first to true up and get our 2024 number done. So I did go into the checking account, and I entered an opening balance of $36,725.48, and I just posted it to opening balance equity. So right over here, you see go to bank register, or if you were in your chart of accounts, you could do that. So I'm going to say reconcile. Now it's really best, please print your statements. Don't try and jump around with screens. That is way too hard when you're brand new. So that's my number. Okay, and I'm going to say 12/31/24. And I'm going to select that. So cleared balance, So again, my bank statement isn't totally right, but we'll use that number. 36,725.48. Okay, click finish. Now, I just had Gemini make me a kind of like a fake one so I could show you this. So let's see how well Gemini did. So we have a beginning balance of that. According to Gemini, our ending balance is 105,279.25. There's all those asterisks. Okay, so I'm going to Control C. And now this time I'm going to say, see, that's kind of why I just hit the back button on these, because like I would typed it right and it still was being silly. Okay. So let's look at this and let's look at our bank statement, and we'll talk about things that go wrong on reconciliations. I will put a download on how we, for a new person, the things we have as a checklist of things that are going wrong that would be a reason you're out. Now, it's kind of hard to show that until it really happens. But what you're looking for is this immediately went to $0 difference, and that it shows that everything went perfectly. Now, sometimes this happens, and like you could have month over month, everything's easy, and then the bank glitches. So Chase, I have a client that it somehow glitches, and like 5 or 6 transactions in each month are always missing, and we have to one by one check off the deposits and expenses in order to find out what was missing, where was the glitch, and what do we need to go and hand enter. I will make another video regarding glitches and bank rec issues. So just because you have gotten to 0 and it looks like everything's great, you still need to check these amounts, because I have been on coaching calls with clients where I'm teaching them, or they've reached out to me as they know something's not right, but their bank recs work and they're really not sure. And they have somehow double entered deposits and expenses. So they get to the right ending balance, but they have maybe double, triple amounts, or they are doing kind of, which is too hard for me to show on this video, a circular entry where they're creating a deposit and an account, and it's essentially doing nothing to their profit and loss. It's a whole other issue. Okay, so what you want to do is go check your bank statement for the total expenses. So we have 3867. And that's what we have here. And then our bank statement says the deposits are 72,420.77. So these all have to match. If your deposit number doesn't match your bank statement, don't hit finish. The goal isn't to click finish now with a $0 difference. The goal is to have accurate books. So if your total deposits do not match your bank statement, you need to go and find out why. You may have to check off one by one these transactions. That is really a manual way of doing it, and sometimes you have to if it doesn't work. The other thing is, if some things are hand entered and some things are entered through the bank transaction feed that I taught you how to create the rules and add the transactions, those auto select. But if you went and hand posted those 5 glitchy transactions I was talking about, those will not auto select. So you should scroll through here and see if there are some that need to be checked off. That could be a reason you can't get your bank rec to work. But in this instance, our beginning balance, our total deposits, and our total expenses equal what our bank statement says. So it is okay for us to now click finish now. I would print your bank statement. I would print your reconciliation report. I have some videos on how to organize for your private practice. I would mention that I believe in the binder system. So you could create a binder for the year and call it banking, your practice's name and banking, and print out all of your bank and credit card statements. So we're going to say done. Now, the very last step. So you've reconciled, and now you could actually create a profit and loss, also called a P&L or an income statement. So I believe this is step 6. So you're going to go over here to reports. The P&L and the balance sheet are always at the top. And you can put stars next to different things here, and that will then bring it up to the top. So my favorite ones are profit and loss by month. I will create a video on how to read a profit and loss and balance sheet, but this one is just going to be simple of like the end result of posting 1 month with just simply a checking account. We haven't gotten into adding the credit card, adding a loan. These will be following videos. So let's do profit and loss. And this is very simple. This practice should probably have a lot more in expenses. But again, this is a demo file showing you how important it is to break out items. Now, mind you, I see that I made a bad rule that I have to fix later, where one of the insurance companies, Elevance, is going into my parent account, and this really needs to be moved to the Elevance sub account. But again, that's why you want to review your profit and loss after you have done the work. So nicely here, though, I'm able to collapse that so that maybe at some point I want to look at it individually, but if I just need to know generally how much is coming in insurance versus through my credit card processor, I can tell. And then as we add expenses, this could be low, maybe, the key is just to understand that this is your goal. You need this for the entire year, and it needs to be accurate in order to have your tax preparer prepare your tax return. Okay, so that was the start to finish of creating a QuickBooks file from scratch and dramatically getting everything posted quite quickly via using auto rules. And then also learning how to post those transactions, do a bank reconciliation, and run a profit and loss. All right, please post any comments or questions or video requests. I do personally watch those. Also, if you're interested in QuickBooks coaching, there is a link to my calendar for a free 15-minute Zoom consultation. We also offer fixed price bookkeeping for solo mental health practices. If you want, you can schedule a free 15-minute Zoom call where we can go over your needs and level of service that you are looking for, and I can give you a customized quote. All right, have a great day.